I really hope and pray that the thoughts that I'll share this morning are going to be an inspiration. That is really my desire. This is not something that was just designed for Malawi. It's something that I'm working on for the whole globe. So some of the things that I'll share, I will not go into detail on the globalization part. That's why you see the smaller title there, which says Crisis and the Worker. Because those of you that remember, I think Pastor Chigwenembe had invited me to do rounds in the zones. I think that time we had 4 zones, if I remember well, Pastor Chigwenembe. We had to do what we called a crisis training or workshop, where we had to go around because of the shakeups that were happening in the various national offices. And so in the face of COVID, we have all been found, including ourselves who retired, we've been found in a crisis situation which has been unprecedented. If you think of the 2009 credit crunch and the aftershocks that caused most of us to have our job shakings, it was a very devastating encounter. But projections are showing that the COVID aftershock shall live with us for more than a decade, close to 2 decades on the more. So it is very important, and Maynard, of course, felt it was important for us to just have this reflection where we encourage one another. So we are going to focus on the crisis and the worker, but I will send you these notes, so don't lose heart. I'll do my best to make sure that after this, I forward this to the relevant people. I think, Jenny, I'll send this, then you can escalate it to others. Okay. So now in the face of COVID, if you want to access my books, you can only access them via Amazon. So those are my latest 3. The first one that you see is a long overdue book. I wrote this almost 5 years ago, but this is the time I'm publishing it. It really has a lot of personal insights on business, and those that have interacted with me have been passionate. I think you remember I always was passionate that when you're at the place of work, it's always important for you to prepare for unforeseen eventualities. So you can get those either electronically or you can order. I don't know how that is done from Malawi. And so those are the 3 of my latest. There are other books that you can actually get on Amazon. I've written quite a number, but for me, these are the critical ones that can help you to journey even beyond those of you that plan to live World Vision in the next 1 or 2 years. This can be very helpful for you to prepare for such a move. It's always important for us to define what a crisis is, so that people can really understand from what background are we discussing. A crisis is a decisive moment. That is the basic definition of a crisis. A paroxysmal or a very difficult attack that induces pain, distress, or disordered function, whether it's in the body or whether it is in the community. They also defined it as a time of great danger, difficulty, or confusion, whereby problems that are identified as such must be solved or important decisions must be made. They also say that a crisis is a condition of instability or danger, as in social, economic, political, or international affairs, leading to a decisive change in that particular case. And when I look at the broad aspects of this word, one of the things I notice is that there are frequent crossing points within the crisis, and these are usually summed up as economic, epidemic, and also academic. I will not talk about the details around that, but I just wanted to highlight that an economic crisis usually is induced, and there are various factors that bring about economic crisis. But we also have epidemic crisis, which we are currently facing in view of the COVID-19, which now is a pandemic, meaning it has impacted the whole world. And then we have the academic crisis. An academic crisis, let me simplify it. If, for example, you are supposed to be a doctor, then you go and study engineering. or vice versa. You're supposed to be an engineer, you go and study medicine. Or maybe you're supposed to be an agriculturalist, then you study medicine. You see that that becomes an academic crisis, because then what God intended for you to do is not what you are doing. So you are not maximizing the potential because you have decided to go for a course that God never intended for you to pursue. So that then becomes an academic crisis. But also on the broader terms, an academic crisis can be as well where nations fail to educate their populations. So people have rounds where you had to struggle to even navigate through your own education path. And that is the general academic crisis that is in most of our nations. And nations battle as to how they can best empower their citizens. Most of you struggle to pay for your own school fees. You struggle to pay your way through university. And it was not easy. But it starts from the top, where leadership fails us, then the whole scenario becomes a total academic crisis, and it impacts on society eventually.